Hey, what's up guys? Your man Chris here once again, back with another haircut tutorial. Now today we got our man Antony, and he's gonna do a mid skin fade and a hair transformation. Now Antony's been growing his hair out for about 2 years now, and as you can see it's pretty long. He's been keeping it in a bun, and coming to the end you're gonna notice that his hair got a little dreaded, so we had to cut it down a little shorter than we wanted to. So we're going to start off with the balding clipper, and we're going to do our first guideline. Now this is the guideline we're going to follow through when we're doing our initial steps. So make sure you clean all the bottom. And we're going to go ahead with our Braun 9 series, and we're going to clean the rest of the remaining hair to make it real nice and smooth. We got our Wahl 5-star senior cordless, and we're going to start off by debulking the mid side of the haircut. So we don't want to cut it too short, so we're going to be doing kind of a gliding type motion so that we give some room to blend into the top when we trim down the top from our transformation. So we're hovering over this with the number 3 guard. Try not to go right down to the scalp if you can. We're going to be making our second guideline with the 1.5 clip, going against the grain in various directions. And now we got our 1 guard open, and we're making our second transition. And now we're just merging the number 1.5 with our 0.5. Now we got our 0.5 guideline, and we're transitioning our 1.5 to the 0.5 to the skin and blending in a little bit of the sideburns as we're doing that. Now for the back portion, we're not going to be doing any outlining, so we're going to be fading that completely out. We're just keeping the front part of the outline, so the temple peak point and the beard is going to be connected, and the back is going to be completely faded out. Now this is the part where you're going to do most of your blending, so we're going to be doing a lot of short, rapid scoops, and we're trying to get all those lines out to make the haircut nice and smooth. Now this is my first time cutting Antony, and when you're cutting a new client you want to make sure that you're not going over any moles or any things that you might see in a haircut that you haven't done before. So I made sure to go over that and check for any imperfections that may occur during the haircut. As you can see, I'm pulling his skin back. There's some parts that were difficult to cut without doing this, so it's a little trick that you might want to do sometimes in some haircuts, and it just helps with the blending process. When doing a skin fade, you want to make sure everything is consistently blended throughout. Some parts, because of your different contrasts on your first initial guideline, you will have to go up and down depending on how your guideline was, but you want it to be consistent right through. Some cuts you may want to keep it a longer spread for the fade in the back or a longer spread in the front, but for both sides it needs to remain consistent. And as you know, with blending you want to take your time and blend a lot. Now with the sideburns, as you can see, I'm pulling the skin back for a little bit sharper lineup. I find it helps to get a little sharper when you pull the skin back a bit. Now we're not completely finished with this blending, but midway through I wanted to get a good idea of how the fade's gonna look, so sometimes I do that and I go back to the fade after everything is outlined. Now we're going to be working on the right side, so we're doing the same techniques that we did on the left side. We're kind of gliding with the 1.5 as we speak. You want to keep that middle part thick. I could have started this haircut from the top, but I decided that I wanted to see the haircut first, so I started with the sides and blended everything in, and then I worked to the top. Now, after doing the top, I believe I will be coming back to the fade. It is an extra step, but for this particular haircut, I felt like that's how I wanted to do it, and for no particular reason, but every haircut you take a different approach, and this approach was the one I needed for this particular hairstyle. Now, as I said earlier, there's a lot of time spent on the blending process, especially from the 0.5 to the 1. It is a lot of tedious blending, and this is my favorite part though, because when you do a good job, it comes out nice, and this is where your haircut explodes, and this is when the client gets really happy, because a lot of barbers can't fade really well. So when you can fade well and you can make your client happy, it makes you feel good. It makes you happy as well. When I'm doing my fading, I like to take it on different angles. I find that it helps. Not everything is just straightforward against the grain, but there are some parts where you want to use the tip of your clippers, and there's some parts where you want to go on angles that are a little different than the norm. So this is the one guard close. I'm back with a 1.5 guard. It's closed as well. And for this, the 1.5, I like to do a little bit of short strides and then some long strides. It's different techniques you want to use for the same part, but you have to cut according to what you see. And when you're cutting hair and you're blending, you really got to feel it out. It's hard to just explain what you're doing. When you're in the moment, you got a really good idea of what needs to be done when you have experience. And when you're learning, you want to kind of feel that out and see which different techniques is going to work for the specific times you got. All right, so now we're working on the top. And I started off by using my comb and combing through. And this is where the hair gets tricky, and I had to get rid of the comb and just start holding it with my hand and cutting about midway through, just so that I can again use my comb after, because it was so knotted up that I wanted to just get rid of all the knots. So when you have hair that's dreaded up, you don't want to comb it through, because it's almost impossible to comb through dreads. You got to cut it from the longest part and even everything else in the hair according to the longest part that you have. So we're working on the same technique that we typically do. Start from the front, work our way to the back, go to the left side and the right side as well. thanks for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see y'all in the next one. Stay fresh.